I don't know if I'm live yet. Am I live yet? I don't know. I'm just gonna sit and dance until it shows up. I can't tell. It says I'm live, I think. Okay, I'm live. I see myself now. Hi, everyone. How you doing? Thank you for your patience. I have decided to forego a microphone because it was not working. Hey, everybody. I just want to say thank you for being here and for being open to this and for receiving this and supporting me always. I am so grateful to each and every one of you. Like, Chrissy, don't cry. It's like 11 a.m. on Saturday and you haven't started working yet. Don't cry yet. No sound. Oh my God. No sound at all. There's no sound. You have sound, Julie. Okay. Okay, Kim has sound. Um, okay, yeah. Jasmine just suggested to check out and check back in. Um, oh, so as I was trying to troubleshoot this, I did mention like drop in the chat the level of coherence you're feeling today because there's a lot moving. There's a lot changing and shifting as we're going through these different energetics of the astrological events we've been experiencing as we've been going through all of these different aspects of, I'm going to use the word remembrance of who we are, right? Through our awakening process, we start to really get hammered, get hammered with energetics. Why? Because as we start to open up more and more, our spiritual gifts, our ability to sense energy, we begin to be able to differentiate the different levels of nuance. Okay? So when we're in this tiny little ball of connection and connecting in with energies in a way that is very young, naive in a sense even, or just thinking that everything is good and oh, this is just how it's supposed to be, like when we were kids, right? This is just how it is. And then when we start to realize, oh, this isn't necessarily how it's supposed to be, that's not really part of what the experience should be for us, then we start to awaken more and then we start to see between the holes and the cracks, right? As our structure shifts, as our ability to see through, if we want to call it the matrix structures, begins to allow us to essentially see more truth, see more information, see more uh, of those smaller nuanced energies between things, reading in between the lines, we can call it. As we start to become more aware of those things, we start to accumulate more sensitivity in our field. And as again, we're being bombarded with all different types of noise, electromagnetic frequencies, spiritual energies, emotional energies, as everybody's purging garbage, we have to engage with that in our field to an extent to create a space that keeps us more sovereign, right? We are trying to always get back to that space of sovereignty. Sovereignty is the ability to stay neutral, right? To understand that you are owned by nobody, that you are your ultimate authority and power in your experience, and anything that you allow to lord over you in any way is actually taking your sovereign energy. And the right of your humanness is to be sovereign, our energy is to be sovereign. They're taking that from you. That's one of the reasons why we're still stuck in this matrix system. Although, you know, we get to live here, right? We're not stuck. We have gotten the chance to live in this experience and to get to this point where we get to realize, like, oh, I get to make choices. You feel like it's prison because you feel like you have had your choices taken away. But when we start to learn how to work with the noise in our field and how to create a coherent field on our own accord, we begin to connect in, right? Connect in more deeply with who we are. We anchor in that pillar of heaven on earth, right? That's what we're looking for, that pillar of heaven on earth living within us and a part of us. So we're getting there. We're getting to this point where we're able to see through these different aspects in order to make this feel right. So, what we're going to do before we dive into more talking is we're going to just set an intention, and we're going to we're going to tap in together to create the space that's going to give ourselves the ability to feel into our field more, hold this in ourself, and to be able to distinguish, right, what is ours and what is not. Because in this space, this is about being human. This whole workshop is about being human. How do we navigate our humanness? How do we navigate being here on earth? It's not about escaping, it's about addressing, is this what is happening here? So by allowing ourselves to be spiritual beings having a physical experience and using the energy, we are also going to be opening up ourselves to be intuitively capable to see our blind spots, to see where we are contributing to the noise in our life and experience through lack of boundaries, through lack of discernment, right? And we're going to keep that really strong for ourselves, okay? So I want you all to just settle into your body for a second. And let's take a deep breath in through your nose and slowly exhale. Hi, Riley. Hi, everybody. So slowly exhale out. Okay. All right. See, and we can refer to me interrupting your breath as noise, right? Could you keep your center in that point? Could you keep your center in that space and allow yourself to come back into your body and ground despite what's happening around you? So take another deep breath in and exhale. Feel the way in which your energy has shifted. We're working on tools that give you the power to be present, right? That give you the power to be in control of your life. We can't always meditate for 3 hours a day. That just doesn't fit into everybody's schedule, right? As a single mom, I need things that happen quickly. I need to be able to be reflective and reflexive as well as proactive. And so today we're going to be diving into ways in which you can get back into your center quickly to evaluate what's happening and then come back in and ground. Make the change that you need energetically in your environment, whatever it is, and adjust. What we are doing here is setting you up to create subconscious programs within your system, right? You're always running a subconscious program. And it's whether or not it's beneficial or detrimental that determines whether you're spiraling up or spiraling down. So in this, we are working towards instilling within your mind and your energy field subconscious programming that's going to help you to identify, recognize immediately what is happening so that way you can adjust on the go, right? It takes time. It's like, I liken this to like the gym, all right? I hadn't been going to the gym for a while, but for like years, I was doing called bodybuilding, right? I was like, I want to lift heavy, I want to be strong. I never want to need somebody to pick something up for me. So I spent years building muscle. And in that, it became easier, way easier for me. And at the beginning, it was hard to do it. It was hard to stay consistent, but then I just got into a rhythm. And then all of a sudden, I was putting pounds and pounds on a bar. Wonderful, super exciting. Then I took a break from the gym, just for whatever reason. Life got in the way, and then I stopped going for as much. And when I finally went back and started, maybe like 2 months ago, started a regular routine again, I was shocked that I hadn't actually lost strength. I lost some stamina, but the program was running. The muscle memory was there. That's what this system is. That's what these things are that we're working on implementing. We're implementing the framework and the strength that gives you the ability to let this run in the background, and then when it stops working or you stop paying attention to it for a little while, to realize like, oh, I just need to like reactivate it, right? I just need to think about it again because that was just a tool that was super powerful, and it helped me center, and I can do that at any time. and then you start to run it again, and it happens much more quickly. Then you start to realize and recognize, like once you see it, you can't unsee it. So that's what we're doing here today. I'm going to be talking about all different types of incoherence within our field, the way in which noise interacts with us, how it kind of can dismantle us and show up for us. And then we're going to look at the ways in which we can assess it, right? How we can do energetic work to assess it, how we can assess it intuitively, how we can create structured plans in order to change things. Because, my favorite thing about Yeshua is when he came back to Mary and said, it's all about being fully human. Like, we're here to become fully human. And in order to become fully human, we have to have strong structural foundations so that we can become who we are meant to be and become fully sovereign, right? If we are at the whim of energetics that are around us, we are not sovereign. We are just simply being whipped around. So let me pull, this is a new layout. So I'm trying something a little different. So let me see if I can get this up. Dun, 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 dun. So the first thing we're going to start with is talking about the idea of defining distortions within our field. Oop, there we go. Here I am. Do you like this one? Should we do a little circle head for Chrissy? Okay, let's do this one. So let's talk about defining distortions within our field and what the issues are with this. When we are looking at what engages with us, right? We are actually, we're gonna start with a different picture. We're gonna just look at the field itself first. Dun, 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 dun. Back to this. The fields. Okay. Oh, here we go. There we go. Where's my face? I lost my face again. Okay. Hi, Lauren. It's so good to hear from you. See you here too. Okay. Let's talk about the effects of noise on our field. We are today going to be working on creating congruence and coherence within our energy field. We cannot get rid of noise, right? We cannot get rid of the energetic noise, the physical noise. There's always something. We can do a lot to mitigate it, but one of the things that we are being pushed to do and asked to do is to find a space in which we can cultivate a calm field, a coherent field, despite what's happening around us. Heaven on earth is a frequency of being able to stay neutral, to come back to that center point, right? That state of balance, no matter what. The Buddha could just sit and meditate in all the chaos. It didn't matter. It's like the dog drinking the coffee in the fire. I'm fine. This is fine. Like, it's fine. We are here to anchor in that frequency of peace, okay? And so we do that through coherence. But when we are in a state of being incoherent, I'm not sure. Can you see the pointer if I move this around? Does that pointer work? Or is that just me? It might just be for me. So if our field is incoherent, we are basically being bombarded by all of the different energies. It feels like we are literally under attack. Okay? This is where I want to liken this and bring this forward too, because there's a lot of people in the spiritual spaces, and I've felt this too, and I think a lot of people feel this at times, is that we are being under attack. Like something is after us, right? These energies are coming for us. I spoke about this earlier, but it's this idea that as we begin to be able to distinguish these nuanced energies within our field that are interacting with us, we begin to essentially see and sense new ways in which we are being yanked around, new ways in which energy is trying to poke into our field. Through language, we are then giving it form, okay? It feels like spiritual attack because our mind is using our language that we have in order to translate that energy into something that our brain can comprehend based on this framework and structure that we have as a human, right? If somebody has been raised in a place that is like, okay, we'll go down this path. reptilians. They're raised in a certain way in a particular energy, and that's just how they are. That's just how it is, right? They're slightly aggressive. They have little emotional capability in terms of being able to connect and empathy and things like that. And that's just normal. That's just the nature of it. Okay? But when we are in the space, when we are trying to get to a point where we are able to recognize what's happening in the field, we start to use the language that we have grown up with, the language that we know. Most people don't know if something is wrong until it is made apparent to them that there is something wrong and off. Or they might have a feeling, but that's usually because they're intuitive, right? That they can sense that something is off and wrong. But if you're raised in an environment that literally has no language to describe the thing, it can be really hard and challenging to identify it and to be able to work with it or do something about it, right? That's where, when we look at the progress of humanity too, as we have become more technological, we have been able to solve more problems more quickly because our ability to adjust and to have the vocabulary to deal with things has gotten greater, right? We have more ability to use our language to fix things and to create solutions. So it happens more exponentially quickly. So go back to spiritual warfare and things like that. If we start to have more ability to sense these nuanced energies that are coming into our fields and coming at us, we start to see them in the terminology that we have available to us. Well, if something feels like it's poking into my field and it feels hairy and yucky, well, we might see it as a wolverine, right? That's coming at us and attacking us. Or you might see it as a demon, okay? That can be for many reasons. It can be from the energy, the origin point of the energy, right? It can have influences from something that is darker, right? Because we do know that there is spiritual warfare that is happening here, and there are people who are very powerful that are creating structures that siphon energy, that use miasma and all sorts of cords and hooks and black goo to extract from us. But if we focus on that, that continues, right? When we focus on these things, it creates a space that gives it life. That's where we are continuing to feed the incoherence in our field. If we continue to believe that we are under spiritual attack all the time, we will continue to constantly feel like the energy ball on the left, the incoherent field, where it's everything's in there. There's so much noise, there's so much chaos, and we can't ground, we can't settle, we can't really shine our light. Okay? When we start to learn how to identify these incoherences within our field, the little levels of noise, we begin to be able to titrate them, right? Adjust, filter. Today, we're going to be working on implementing filter systems that enable you to essentially run these filters in your field without having to continually be tuned into it, right? When we have a coherent field then and everything is operating smoothly and orchestrating this beautiful dance, it's harmony. We are working on making harmony within our toroidal field so that we can actually shine that light. Now, earlier I had an image and it was interesting because I was trying to get this all fit on one page. But as I was doing it, the coherent field kept bleeding into the incoherent field, right? The shine of that. So I was like trying to make it fit. But what it also pointed out was the fact that like other people shining were jabbing into this incoherent field and adding to it, right? Pointing out the fact that, like, well, your shit's a mess over there, honey. So, and then what do? You shrink more, or you get aggressive, or you find some other way to feel get back in power with it, right? So the next thing, like, how's everybody doing? Does anybody have any questions about this, like this concept of like the coherent field versus the incoherent field? we're going to dive in more on what can cause this next, but I just want to just see how you guys are doing with this. I'm also going to try and make another picture. My next picture. Pew, pew, pew. And you any as questions come up, just drop them into the chat, and I will either get to them as we're going or as we get there later on. Let's see. Chrissy and her technology. You know what's funny is that my Mercury is at 29 degrees. So I don't know that much about astrology, but I do know that when something's at the 29th degree, it's like your thing to be and focus on. And so I think it's really funny that I have a Mercury at 29 degrees and I'm like the biggest tech blob goof. Um, I'm not. I'm fabulous at this. Okay. Uh, Lauren asked if there is any other terminology people would use for this. Absolutely. So people might use noise, they could use distortions, right? Distortion is a really big word that you see in a lot of spaces. Um, Ultimately, like this can even settle down to like negative energy, vibes, vibrations, and things like that. That in terms of the field, we might also be talking about like the light body. When we're talking about our toroidal field, that's going to include the energetics of our light body system. So it's all included in that, right? Because it's our aura. Uh, you might also hear people talking about like creating a strong auric field. When we have holes in our aura, it would be like akin to the incoherent field. So those are I think the most common ways that I would say people refer to this like idea of coherence and incoherence or the field itself. Um, Noise and distortions are pretty much like uh, hand in hand with that. Yeah, for the practice of coherence, yes. So for the practice of coherence, we would call it a lot of times people who are working on energy healing are going to be working towards coherence, but they're not going to call it coherence within the field. Um, what else would people, can you help me? Can you help me, spirit? What would you say? We would also venture to call it peace, calm, stability, um, grounded nature. So all of those things that are about like being at ease and at peace with your energy, that would be something that you could use. The coherent practice would go hand in hand. All right, we go into pictures next. So when we're talking, first we're going to look at defining distortions within the field. So when we're defining distortions within the field, we have to remember homeostasis. Oh my God. Yes, Julie, homeostasis. That's perfect for this. Thank you for the English accent. Thank you for loving my English accent. Sometimes I just can't help the accents. They just come out. And sometimes I do it when I'm talking to somebody and I'm like I will mimic the way that they talk and it's not like it's just like it's such well, if you want to talk about it's an ADHD thing that I can't stop it. It's a reflex, and I'm very aware of it, and then I like catch myself, and I'm like back to English, Chrissy, back to English. But I digress. Let's talk about defining field distortions. My dogs agreed too that I digressed too far, so they started barking. So we're going to start with kind of like environmental factors and things like that. So electromagnetic and Wi-Fi frequencies. This is Bluetooth. This is Wi-Fi itself. This is cellular towers, 5G, light bulbs. Okay. I want to pull up just a list that I about um, the different sounds uh, the hertz at which these things operate at, which is just, it's intense. So you have electricity often is in like the lower hertz ranges, like I want to say it's like 6 to 10 hertz, and it can actually be audible. If you are neurodivergent to any extent, you can probably hear, especially coming into the house, that box can be very, very loud, but the buzzing of electricity and any of the other appliances that are hooked in and plugged in regularly and left in can add. That is a continual buzz happening in your field, always. And when you are sensitive and you can hear it with your physical ears, it adds to overstimulation. When we have fluorescent light systems, LED bulbs, dimmer switches, they're operating at the kilohertz range. So this is going to create more friction in your field as well. If you've been in an office that is lit by fluorescent lighting, by the end of the day, I used to come home and I would have after images in my eyes for like, it felt like an hour, and I would be buzzing. What's happening is if you're extremely energetically sensitive, your body is essentially trying to get into coherence through adjusting its own physical resonance to the frequencies around you, right? So you can literally start to feel like wired and buzzy from this stuff. Now, LED bulbs are also really interesting because and fluorescents, these are biological signaling disruptors. Okay? They flash. If you've ever, and your phone also flashes, that facial recognition, it's constantly flashing. If you've ever uh, looked at, I have like a camera that records at night, so it's basically night vision. When you pick your phone up at night, what it's doing is it's emitting light at you and taking continual pictures of you. And that's happening during the day too. You just can't see it. Can't see it at all. And it's emitting this into your face continuously. LED bulbs are essentially strobe lights, right? These are continually going always. Depending on how fast or slow the rate is, it can actually modulate your brain. It creates this, uh, it creates a really powerful, I mean, they have to put warning labels for strobe lights and things like that because they create epileptic seizure scenarios when people have their because your brain is essentially trying to get into coherence with the actual light flashing. It wants to operate in the same modality. It wants to be on the same frequency, in the same pattern, because our field is continually trying to maintain balance and harmony with our surroundings. So, yikes, right? Not cool. This also then extends down into the Schumann resonance. Really cool study happened in 2006 in Russia, where they actually determined that the human body establishes coherence with the Schumann resonance. This is why we are all affected by it. Anybody who says they aren't affected by it, they've either done enough work to be able to handle and hold those fluctuations, right? Because this is a muscle that we're working on, being able to be in the space and have the ability to titrate other noise in order to adjust, right? That's we're working on that today. We're talking about all of this. But the body works towards getting back into that resonant state. I think it's about 7.86 that it's typically resonating at, the Schumann resonance. And this is a geomagnetic field of the earth. And when that shifts, it throws everything off because our body and our energy then tries to get into a homeostasis place of homeostasis based on the new resonance, which maybe it's 16 hertz. As we go up and down, our body's constantly trying to shift, and it creates a nervous system overload. You can get headaches, you can get physical aches in your body, especially because of the electromagnetic fields interacting with each other. If you're looking for a meditation, I'll also include it in the follow-up email. I posted one on YouTube, and it's a geomagnetic grid balancing healing that's there to help your physical body relieve some of those imbalances that have come up from the geomagnetic interference from the Schumann resonance and other earth changes. So those are some really big frequencies that get sent out to us. Okay, those are we'll call them technological because the earth is kind of technological, right? It's kind of a technological thing. So you guys are I just got back into the chat because I had that other thing up, so because I wanted to hit those points. Uh, the buzzing, yeah, the buzzing from the electricity, the power outages are the best for that. You suffered from hearing that buzz as a child. People thought you were crazy. Oh my God, yeah, right. It's something where I remember I didn't always notice it, but like I was always like overstimulated. And then it wasn't until I started to realize it. And I said to my husband at the time, I was like, "Don't you hear that?" And it's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." I'm like, "It's just constant." And it ended up being that there was like a surge protector that was by my head, and I'm like, I couldn't function with it. And so yeah, the noise can be really, really heavy with this. One or two, Julie only puts one or two lights on after dark, and that's so powerful. That's such a great thing to do. And you can also have a designated nighttime light, right? You can have one lamp or something in your house that's an incandescent bulb that you can use to help that stimulation turn off. But that's why they say like don't use your phone at night either, right? There's the blue light too is also really bad for your mind and your circadian rhythm. But part of it is every time you pick it up, you're being like flashed in the face with things. So give it a try, right? Those are things that you can try is to turning, we can combat some of these things by turning off our Wi-Fi, unplugging, using surge protectors so you can unplug it. There are also kill switches that you can get, right, that can actually turn everything off on a timer and turn it back on. But I think there's something very powerful about literally like going through the process of unplugging these things, especially Wi-Fi, and anything else that is extremely loud energetically. Bluetooth, also very loud. Do not sleep with a watch on, okay? Don't sleep with your watch on. That thing's got Bluetooth and it's constantly pinging your phone, it's pinging everything around you. Do not sleep with a phone on, or I'm sorry, a watch on. My awakening came within months after I took my watch off. Okay, I started to be able to like channel and see this stuff and experience it like in a different level when I stopped listening to Bluetooth headphones. Actually, they literally stopped working for me because as my field was trying to become was trying to find coherence, it was interacting and engaging with the electromagnetic frequencies of my headphones. And so that was creating a thing where I just kept getting zapped. And I was like, I'm done with these. And I stopped listening to music. I stopped listening to like other things. And then that was one of the impetus of me having my real, like, oh, this is real awakening. A side note on this, as you go through your awakening, and you start to embody the energy more, you will actually experience less of these electromagnetic disruptions. Why? Because your field is coming into coherence, right? It's not as noisy and messy in your field. So, therefore, the energetic distortions that are happening or had been happening because of this incoherence is no longer there. So, some people see it as a sign, oh, well, I'm not getting, like, spirit's not around me. No, they're absolutely still around you. You are just able to hold the energy in your field more. So it's normal to experience less and less in terms of I'm going to use in quotes, the profound experiences of spiritual whiplash in the electro in the energetic senses. So yeah, I would say the aura rings are also not great for us. And we can, I'm gonna save my conspiracy theorist ideas for another time, but like there are a lot of reasons why biometric trackers are not ideal for us to keep on us at all times. And if you want to use something for like a particular workout, like go for it. But having your sleep tracked and it also that also ends up creating more noise in your field, right? The stress and the pressure from being like, oh well, I didn't sleep well last night, and oh my God, like if I need to get better at going to sleep earlier and doing this and that, and so but it creates another level of stress. So we're trying to remove stress from our situation and our and pressure from our system until we can stabilize, right? We might be able to then get to the point where we can layer these things on, but it's important to, as we're building the foundation and creating a space where we can feel safe and comfortable and coherent, right? And have less noise in our field, we want to go through the process of removing things so that we can tell what our energy is and what is the energy of something else. Um, yeah, the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi, it's very penetrating and it's everywhere, right? You can't necessarily get away from it. We cannot actually, like, you can't get away from it, okay? Because unless you live in the mountains and you're completely off grid and your car doesn't have a computer in it, it's like an old 50s car, you're gonna be bombarded with something. There's gonna be something coming into your field. Now, you can live in isolation. This workshop is about helping you to live in society. Right? How can we live here and deal with this stuff in our field? Because it does, it hits us. Your phone is constantly running Bluetooth. Your laptop is constantly running Bluetooth. There's a lot of there's a lot of stuff happening there. Uh Unfortunately, continuous glucose monitor and insulin pump operate on Bluetooth. Yeah, it is. And but that's the point of this, is like we can't necessarily fully get away from it. And even when we are putting turning stuff off or moving things around or leaving something outside of our room, there are still frequencies that are engaging in our house, and we still have wires all in our house. There's constantly something going on, but it's being aware of it and being able to adjust what we can in order to make our environment more inviting and friendly for our energy, right? So that we don't get super overstimulated. Are there better options than the LED ring lights? Well, as I'm sitting right in front of an LED ring light that's burning into my retinas, an after image that I will see for 2 days, are there better things that we can do? Absolutely. We can do, instead of doing direct light, you can do reflective light. So the concept of creating a reflection space that can diffuse the light. That is a little bit more of a, it's a larger setup. Honestly, it's a larger setup and it will require, I mean, you can do it cheap, right? You can do it with some cardboard and aluminum foil and a white sheet, right? But it's not necessarily going to create, it's not, it takes up more space. It's a little bit more cumbersome. So there's the trade-off. Like, can I do, like, if I can do something for most of the time that's set up, then wonderful. And then, you have a ring light for the days that we can't do it. So there are ways in which you can balance it. You can also get a box there, like what's coming up is a box light, like a bigger light, and you can just put incandescent bulbs into it. I do think incandescent bulbs are going to get harder and harder to find. You can also just go ahead and decide that you want moody light instead, and like, just light a hell of a lot of candle. Right? There's ways around everything. And it's how determined you are, right? That's where we get to assess and evaluate, like, what can I handle this for 20 minutes, and then, then I take a break. What are we going to do with this? How am I going to move through this? Um, Yeah, Lauren said she felt down on her while she would wear the watch. It's like foreign from the natural state of the system. Exactly. What about turning off 5G off our phones, like back to 4G? Does that really make an impact? I'll tell you what, I did. Okay. I operate my phone on LTE, and one time it updated, and I was like, why am I so anxious? What is happening to me? Blah, 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 like me. And then I look at my phone and I realize, like, why is it 5G? Because it tells you right up top. And I put it on LTE, and within like a couple of hours, I felt a lot better. Like I just felt less frazzled. It makes a difference. You can Google how to turn your phone back to LTE, and I highly recommend it. Every time the iPhone runs an update, actually, I don't know if it's every time, but it was like one of the times when I actually updated my phone, it went back to it went back to 5G, and I did feel a difference. I never have a problem really with my phone being on LTE either. The data's fast. I mean, even streaming, like my kids watch stuff. I don't watch a lot on my phone except when I'm in my house and I'm, in a dissociative state of scrolling or something. Because let's be honest, I do that too. Um, I, I don't really notice that. So I would highly recommend going back to LTE if you can with your phones. Jasmine did say the incandescent bulbs are hard to buy in the UK. Yeah, they're hard to buy here, and I don't know. I saw someone online say that they're I don't know if they're being banned, or I don't think you can buy them in Home Depot anymore. I think you probably have to buy them from like retailers online somewhere, like a specialty retailer, and they're probably more expensive, and then they go out more frequently. And so, is it a cost effective way? No, but is it energetically? Is it better for you? Yeah, absolutely. You can also just turn your lights off. You can turn your lights off, light some candles, have it moody again, right? That also works. Uh, Yeah, right. I think Riley knows a lot about this stuff from her job and being able to connect into this and learning how to navigate these energies. So I'm super excited. Riley's starting a podcast. I can't wait for. I'm putting a plug in for you, Riley. Riley's starting a podcast. Is on August 9th is the first episode. So we're all gonna go listen and watch. Super excited for it. Okay, I digress again. Chrissy's like a walking digression today. Let's talk about corporate programming. Okay, corporate programming is noise within your field, PR, anything that comes out of the system of corporations. It is noise, big old noise. Okay, it's creating and pushing noise at us and creating all of these challenging distortions within us. It evokes fear, it evokes scarcity, it evokes, I'm not as good as them, it evokes discomfort, it evokes uh, just insecurities. Okay, that is corporate programming that is your um, influencing your energetics. Okay. Oh, Riley said it's August 12th. I'm sorry. I thought it was the 9th. My apologies. I got excited. But yeah, so Riley, I don't know if you can drop it in, but either put your handle for Instagram in there, or if you can, we'll just all follow you. I'm gonna put you in the email so that people can find you and watch. So corporate programming, brutal. Okay, this is the reason why the American dream was pushed so hard, and we all now eat margarine uh and Skittles. Okay. Okay, so you get it. That creates physical distortions within our field through the implementation of products that are not good for us. It creates the keeping up with the Joneses. It creates us in this loop of the American dream, constant continuous debt, and there's a lot of challenges that can arise from this. So the corporate programming really creates a lot of noise. Once you begin to see it though, you can't unsee it. And then you get out of it, right? You're just like, ugh, okay, bleh. Like it makes you nauseous from looking at it because you're learning how to filter it out. All of these things we're learning to filter it out of our system. And then you get to the point where first it makes you nauseous and then you don't care anymore. Okay? Then you don't care. So that's the level of like being able to, if we want to call it like the model of the gates, right? That's like saintlyhood. It's like you're just able to operate in the world and like everything is fine. Okay, you do you. That's fine. Like like you just walk right past it. It's not even it doesn't even engage with you because it's so the resonance can't even like penetrate into your field. You're just completely unbothered. That bleeds into social conditioning, things like social media. What are we seeing? What are we consuming? What are we scrolling, right? These addictive, numbing behaviors that we're working on. They're constantly moving and pushing us into that direction. All of that is creating chaos in our field. Interpersonal dynamics. This is your relationship with your mommy or your daddy. This is the way in which you are working with people at work or at your kid's school. This is your relationship with your kids, right? Any of these ways in which we're just a ball of energy fields interacting with each other. That is what this is. And we look physical, but we're still really just energy. We are just energy interacting with each other and an accumulation of the effects of that. So the distortions that can show up in your field can come from interactions with other people. It can come from their field, and it can come from the emotions and patterns that they evoke within your field that you have not cleared properly or have not gotten to the point to like really feel strong and confident dealing with. Okay? Doesn't mean that we need to heal more, right? We're always being presented with things that we can decide if we want to spiral up or spiral down. Like I'm trying to like remove that idea of like healing because it feels like we're constantly trying to have to heal something. We just have to learn how to be resilient, right? Things are going to come up, and the more resilient we are, the more capable we are of getting back to heaven on earth frequency, our center point, right? Our neutral state. The more these things do not affect us as much. Interpersonal dynamics should be highlighted and underlined because this is where we, especially as if you're an empathic person, it can create a lot of chaos, right? It can create a lot of chaos in your field if you are empathic because you are picking up on everyone's energy, you are feeling it, you are um, uh, people are projecting it at you. You are probably projecting it at people too, right? Until we get to this space where we're in coherence and sovereign, we go through a process of projecting things and pulling things back and absorbing. It's part of we're either transducing, which is amplifying, or we're transmuting. And we're all working towards getting to transmutation, but most of us are simply transducers and absorbers at the beginning when we're really moving through these energetics. Circumstances. Circumstances create a lot of noise. Think about your office. If you've worked in an office before or you went to school, the energetics of that space is really dense. Okay? The dynamics, the interpersonal, and everything compounds, right? As we're going through this list, I just want to like point out, we're starting with like the small things that add up energetically, technologically, and then how they amplify in our system. So circumstances is accumulation of all of the things above it, right? And below too, really. But the circumstances of your office life is how much those fluorescent lights, the Wi-Fi that they have. Well, they have amplifiers because they need to reach all of the computers. And then we have this other thing that creates even more, noise because we're required to have a server room and blah 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 blah. And then it spiked in the Schumann resonance and the corporate programming, because we all are trying to pretend like we really like to be here, because that's part of the mission statement is happiness, and we are reprimanded if we are not presenting as being happy and well connected. But everyone has an air of attention and aggression underneath it, because they are being, you know, their true behavior is being squashed, and their feelings are not being actually addressed, so everyone's just swallowing their anger and walking ticking time bombs, and so that creates more of a powerful interpersonal dynamic that's very volatile and passive aggressive. I don't want to go to work there. I don't want to go to work there. That is noise. That is noise. How do you go to work there? Right? How do you go to work in a space like that? Through being able to disconnect from and to recognize what is happening in the field and to center yourself, right? Quit that job immediately. Yeah. Quit that job. It's not easy, right? It's also not easy being a parent. So I hear you with a 13-year-old girl as a single mom. Like, I'm a single mom of two kids, and it is, they project their energy, especially the kids now are very, very energetically sensitive, and they push their energy out and you feel it. And so that's where your home life, like, one of the things that I've realized too is that I would be totally fine and happy and good, and then my kids would get in the car, and what they're doing is they're co-regulating. And when you are energetic and they are very, like, when you are energetically attuned and they are very energetically attuned, what happens is you can feel your energy being the cycling point at times for your children, especially when they're younger, because it's still attached to the mother's energy field, right? They do not fully separate until they're like 9, 10, between 9 and 12, this process, right? And so as you are part of their true co-regulation system, you are the transmuter, you are the absorber and the filtering system for their energy. So my kids would get in the car, everything would be fine for like 2 minutes, and then all of a sudden I'd start yawning and be like, why could I fall asleep right now? And it was not because I was bored because of my kids, it was because my body was being used as a way to siphon and clean and clear the energy of my children. So I started to, when I noticed this was noise that was happening in my field, because then I would get tired and then I'd get cranky and then I'd have struggles. I started to clear their energy before they got in the car. I'd be sitting in car line and I would do a little woo woo on them, right? Energetically visualize them, do a tornado, whoo whoo whoo, clear it. And then they could get in the car and we'd be in a state where, like, they might have a small outburst or something, because that's typical for kids who have held it together all day. And then we'd be fine. And that would be it. So that's identifying the noise, identifying the shift that happens, and being able to assess it, to create a plan, and to, like, implement change. How's everybody doing? Let's take a sip of water. Everybody hydrate. So I want to put this into your minds and understanding that as I am talking, we are in an energetic container that is creating pathways within your neural networking system that is going to be able to help you to run the subconscious programming, to be able to identify these things that are happening within your field. While I'm speaking, you are receiving the energetics of the information from my higher self, and your higher self is working on implementing that as the new pattern of operating to be able to identify it. I guarantee you, we're going to do some energetic stuff too, but I guarantee you after this call today and throughout the next week, you're going to start seeing things like, oh, dang. Oh, dang. You might even get new things that we're not even talking about today, like to identify the noise that you're experiencing too. So just pay attention to that as it comes up, but trust that even though we're not sitting here doing energy work and meditating, there is energy that is shifting within your field because this is a highly charged space that is made to help to create a more coherent field through installing a filtering system within your field. There's energy happening. I am channeling, right? You can tell when I'm channeling when I'm not because I'm like Chrissy when I'm not, and then I'm like boss lady when I am. Like coherent sentences and everything. So this is an exchange that is occurring, and it is very powerful. So long way to say drink some water, please. Drink water, hydrate, clear, write notes. You don't have to take notes of this, you'll get all of this stuff. But if something is coming up, I want you to write it down, right? I want you to take note of it. Even if you go somewhere else completely, right? If you zone out or fall asleep, like it's cool. Don't worry about it. This energy. Okay. Oh my God. Hey, Jasmine talked about nanobot technology. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. I want to, but I'm not going to. But yes, uh, nanobot technology, graphene oxide, all of the interferences of those energies within our body, heavy metals, and the interferences with electromagnetic fields. Right? We can talk about the. Oh my God, we're doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it. The way in which electromagnetic fields interrupt and interfere with the graphene oxide, with heavy metals, with aluminum, with copper, with iron in our body creates a masterful dynamic within the system that can create extreme disorder in the hormones, in the ability for the brain to fire at appropriate rates, right? And the overload of the toxin systems that are used to filter out anything that is detrimental to the body can also be uh, removed. But it's no, don't be sorry because it's so true. It's something that we all have to be aware of too, right? That there are other things at play, and that the reason why it creates extra the electromagnetic field interferences, the Bluetooth, the Wi-Fi create, and any of these signals really are creating such distortion in us is because they are targeted frequencies that are affecting. Everything resonates at a different frequency, and all you have to do is send in a frequency that would cause something to vibrate at a particular rate to create dissonance in the body. Dissonance leads to dis-ease, leads to illness. So it is a real thing, and you can there are ways in which you can physically detox the body, absolutely. We won't cover those today, but like maintaining a clear way of moving these through you and releasing them and letting your body just kind of come back into balance is powerful. You can also go through the process of energetically closing these contracts if you want, revoking access. There are all FI clauses that exist within the most of the consent that you've ever given or checked a box and said I consent. There's some type of FI clause in there that in the very fine print that actually enables these types of energetic distortions to be used to this is to control you to an extent. So all you could say like I revoke access to all FI clauses and any energetics that have been placed within my body. I revoke access, and you are no longer allowed to operate within my system. There we go. And you can clear parasites with light, with frequency. You can clear energetics with that in your system too. You can get rid of all of it, and you can detox from it too. So it's all possible. It is not necessarily it's a fine tuning mechanism. We tend to use those as ways to just I don't want it just to sound it's going to sound however it sounds to you. Sometimes we use these detox systems and all of these really different ways of of clearing our body in order to distract from the actual energetic and karmic density that our body is trying to release. So the reason we get gluten intolerance is for energetic reasons as well on top of that. And if we start to go down this path and rabbit hole of having to clear it from our system, remove it, take it out, and then we no longer have that as a food source, and that becomes our focus and our identity, right? Then we have not necessarily addressed the underlying cause that caused gluten sensitivity to be the symptom of. So there's always something as a precipitating factor energetically. Now, do we need to know everything in and out? Not necessarily. The stuff will clear it, we'll move through it. If we want to talk about gluten sensitivity, like I've had a gluten sensitivity my whole life, and didn't know about it, and then I ended up completely removing it for a long time, and it really helped my body come back into balance, which then enabled me to then get to a state of homeostasis where I could then introduce it back into my system and eat it. So now I can eat it, and I like it a lot, so I try not to eat it that much. But do I operate better without it? Absolutely. And that's going to be one of the first things that I'm going to titrate down if I start to experience other symptoms that are creating chaos. So that's the ability to identify and move through things. When we are operating on programming and not understanding, we are going through this space of not we're going through a space of getting stuck, right? Getting stuck and not knowing why. But when we come from it from the angle of being able to define the field and define the distortions because we're finally aware of them, then we can take action, and we're no longer subject and a tool of the circumstances, but rather using the circumstances to our benefit. Next thing I want to talk about is the portal of creation. Portal of creation is essentially the extension of humanity. Whatever you are creating as a human has an energetic effect to it. I'm going to talk about a painting that I have in my home right now that's currently, on its way out the door. Why? Because this painting created a portal into different frequencies. I had been very drawn to it, and it was given to me as a gift, and I absolutely loved it. There was just something that just like made me so focused on it, because the person who channeled it was channeling when they were channeling when they painted this. They were channeling and creating this space that was very energetically charged, and because they were in a state that was newly awakened, they were putting all of this very unfiltered energy onto a canvas. And me, I'm like queen of chaos. I'm like, please just send that to me. I need that. Right? And so that portal that was created within that painting, the first time it came into my house, it was next to my bed, and I hadn't had nightmares in months. And all of a sudden, it was like the worst night's sleep. I was waking up screaming. I was in all sorts of different places. It was just total chaos. That happened for like another night before I was like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Let me move this out of here and put this in the basement. That helped a little bit. Basement's under my room, though. So, but in that, there was a portal that was created with that painting that I then was engaging with. My field was then engaging with, because his field opened this energetic space that created a way for me to access these energies. Jasmine said, "Burn it." Riley's gonna agree with you. I know it's gonna get gone. It's gonna get gone today on the 1st. See ya. Uh, um, so think of portals of creation, anything that gets put in. This is why artwork, you might resonate with a particular era of an artist, right? Only the era of their 30s, right? Whatever it is. Every other painting you don't resonate with, because that portal that they created at that time resonates to you. resonates to something you're either have gone through or are going through currently and working towards moving into a more balanced state over, trying to find that coherence within. And so you use the artwork as the allegory, the story outside of yourself in order to clear it. That gives you the ability then to move through it and to not necessarily have to directly see your side, but through the healing of the aspects of the artwork, you can find peace within yourself. And at times you will actually recognize that these are congruent stories, that these go hand in hand, and it'll help you heal. It can also help you to visualize and see your own traumas in different ways, and it can help you to move through it. But then what happens? Once you no longer need it, it no longer resonates, right? You have more of a neutral appeal to it. Now, there's different types of triggers in this, okay? You can have that gross, like that makes me feel like gross. I do not like that. And it can be like, oh my God, I love this. It makes me cry. They can actually be both the things that you need when we're looking at healing, okay? The thing that makes you feel gross and triggered, you got to ask yourself, why am I triggered by this? Why does this feel so violent within me? Is it really because if it's creating a violent response, there is something within you that is trying to be recognized and acknowledged. And so sometimes all you need to do is acknowledge it. And then the other thing no longer holds the power over you. So that is something to keep in mind. Books, same thing. Books take you places. Those are portals. I mean, how many of us have read a book and not been able to put it down? I have gone down book holes where I've spent 3 days reading like an 800-page book and like did nothing else. Didn't eat, barely slept, and just like that was all I did because it was took me someplace. It was a portal to another world, and it was really, really powerful. Can this be intentional within the creator as well too, like for good? Absolutely. This is where you'll get to a point where you start to see artwork and you're like, oh, that feels good, like this makes me feel safe, this makes me feel protected. You can absolutely, like, creators can absolutely do this. This is where too, like, you have the power to create your own artwork. Yesterday, after I had a conversation about the painting in my basement, I was like, oh, maybe it's okay if I just have TJ Maxx artwork that doesn't have any soul to it. Because like I can there are things like when I've been in, you can go to a museum if you're highly empathic and intuitive. Like I can see something, I can watch something. I remember watching um, what movie was that? The Wizard of Oz. And one of the characters came on stage, and I swear I could taste the whiskey that was on his breath, right? It was so strong, and it made me so sick to my stomach because they were clearly like intoxicated when they were on there. So this plays into it too. And if it's a portal, movies, music, books, anything that's created, artwork, um, your home, the landscape of things, anything that is put the person is building a space or creation with, it can hold energy. And you can clear it, absolutely, but some of it's going to be heavier than others. If you've experienced abuse of any kind, the energies and the symbols, right? We can call them symbols. Anything that was a reference from that time period can hold that frequency for you. And so that can be triggering. So the energy of the experience is imbued into the creative energies of whatever you bring into fruition or somebody else brings into fruition at the time. That is noise. It's noisy. It's loud until you learn to be able to sit with something and have it have no effect on you. We can challenge ourselves. We have to kind of challenge ourselves to like All right, let me clear this and let me like slowly reintroduce things in that are beautiful, but also make me feel good, right? That's that is a process of becoming more whole. Yeah, when we're practicing readings and healings, we are absolutely opening portals. And this is so important to disconnect, right? So important to cut cords. Like I remember cutting cords a couple of years ago to like every I cut cords continuously. I'm so I do not want to be sending energy to people or receiving energy from people that is not in coherence, right? We are continually becoming new versions of ourselves. So if we're always in this process of releasing cords, we are allowing dynamics and relationship dynamics to adjust and to reflect the dynamic of the new version of ourself rather than the past version that it attached from. So clearing these are really, really important and powerful. And I'll tell you what, like there are, I've got so many stories of things that have attacked, like where you absorb things from people and you don't even realize it because you're doing a reading and then you ran at, like I did a reading and then I ran out after and I'm like, why is my jaw hurt? And it's like, oh, well, we cleared her jaw and you didn't disconnect, dummy. Like, so it begins to settle within your field if you're not fully releasing the things and disconnecting from it. So I love that point. Thank you for bringing that up because that creates, again, more noise in your field. That is, that's that interpersonal dynamic and the energetics. Emotions and thoughts. These all have their own. Hold on, I'm going to start over. I'm going to take a deep breath and then I'm going to go to the next paragraph. Drink some water, everybody. Emotions and thoughts of yourself and of others are all creating noise within your field. Until you learn to allow these to flow and to release, they will continue to create blocks, hiccups, burrs within your system, within your field. Emotions are energy in motion and they're constantly moving, right? Constantly moving in and out. If somebody is highly empathic, they are feeling the energy that is in motion from somebody else. It's flowing through their field. If they don't let it flow and it gets stuck, then you take it on. Then it becomes like very heavy within your own system. And that's something we do not want. So emotions, thought forms, that thing that keeps popping up into your head that you're playing on repeat, that's noise. Now, when we go into these patterns and spirals, we're using our emotions and our thoughts and our energies to create these patterns. And the patterns create loops, and the loops create spirals, and we're either spiraling up or we're spiraling down. We're constantly moving, right? And it is something that when we look at the Fibonacci sequence and the Fibonacci spiral, right? Or it gets it's tight, it's tight, it's tight, and then things start to get exponentially easier or exponentially worse. Depends on which way you're going. Are you going down or are you going up? So when we catch ourselves when we're in this tight spiral still, we have the ability to then shift, whether it's expanding or spiraling up or spiraling down. I think that's a better reference than expanding and contracting or like positive and negative that because it's the energetics of the spiral itself. And so when we look at that and we realize that these patterns have the ability to reset us, we then begin to be able to recognize what the patterns are that we're operating within that are either being detrimental to us or helping us to become who we want to be, right? The sovereign beings that we want to be. Now, as there are definitely different ways in which we can look at healing, and one of the ways that I think healing should be looked at is this idea for the latency of your ability to determine the pattern that is in play in a situation. How long does it take you to decide or determine what pattern of yours is happening within that moment? Can you identify the pattern? And then we get to the point where then we adjust it, right? That's the healing aspect of it. That's the resiliency, coming back to stasis. And the spiritual energies, right? We're here having spiritual experiences. And guess what? There are spiritual energies on top of all of this, interfering, engaging, talking. You're in here watching this. You're probably somebody who is listening to spirit, asking spirit for direction, talking to your grandparents or your loved ones on the other side, your ancestors, your galactic ancestors. Maybe you're someone who talks to, galactic energies all the time. That is noisy and very opinionated. Okay? Very opinionated on how you should live your life. And those things can be extremely beautiful too and helpful. If we were talking about, we're working on defining distortions right now. If we were working on just defining noise, we can also talk about the positive aspects of all of these things, right? When somebody is happy, they can project joy into your field and they make you happy, right? When we are working with beings of light who actually help us to thrive and to become more empowered and sovereign, we start to really shine, right? So there is the flip side to all of these things is there's a positive pole to it too, that we can use, and we can allow that to be more of the framework that we focus on, and building our own structure to build our light from. And the spiritual energies can go both ways. They tend to amplify what is already within us, right? Or what we're dealing with at the moment. When I was fresh off of my divorce and going through all of this stuff that I hadn't actually healed yet, and I didn't actually heal until recently in terms of that, and narcissistic abuse, the energies that presented to me as spirit guides were basically parallels to the energies that I was engaging with in this life. Rough, tumbly, just very opinionated and very, you do it now, right? I was healing through that way of connecting to different spirits. And part of that is realizing, and now those, they don't, they're still around. Sometimes, like, for nostalgia purposes, I'm like, okay, like, let's hang out. But, like, not really. Like, it doesn't resonate anymore. It served its purpose, and you move on. So that is when we start to learn to distinguish the different energies of the spiritual connections that we're working with and moving through. So how's everybody doing? We talked a lot about the field distortions and things like that. And so I'd love to hear if you guys have any questions, or drop in too if there's any other things that you've experienced, that you would consider distortion within the field. Bum, bum, bum. I'm going to get this next one queued up because we all know it's going to take me a little while. Oh, yeah, I love this. Okay. All right, so I showed you guys this one earlier. We're talking about the effects of noise on the field, right? Now we're going to look at like the symptoms and things like that, and what is happening in the field when we're engaging with all of this distortions that are fragmenting us. Now, this picture on the left, the incoherent field, I want you to just sit with your body right now. And I want you can, however this presents to you, but I want you to tap into your aura, okay? And I want you to, like, for me, when I'm feeling frazzled, I feel different layers of myself. Some of them are like me with messy hair and like just all over the place. Like I stuck my finger in an electrical socket, and they literally look like some of these lines too, like pig pen lines. I want you to feel like how many of those are in your field right now. How many of these bubbles of distorted energies are sitting in there. You might also see them as different colors. And then we're going to do a quick little practice. It's going to help to bring those back into balance. Okay. So we see them, and I want you to take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, I want you to see the edges of those bubbles around you that are in your field start to dance, right? Let them stay as their different frequencies at first, but let them dance and let them start to get into sync. And as you breathe again, in and out, feel that energy start to come into a more balanced state. That edge of those circles begins to start to align. And you can still see the buzzing, but is more solid now. This is a process of creating a barrier for your energy, using your field, using this noise, and creating coherence. And then go ahead and I want you to start shining from your heart. I want you to find the light within you and shine it out, 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 further, further, further. With each deep breath in and out, that light expands. And as it expands, the noise begins to dissipate. And it simply starts to blend in with it. When we use an energetic technique like this, it can buy us a few minutes to days feeling calm and more in control. So that way we can assess, make changes. If we don't make changes, the field will continue to go back into disarray, and it will always kind of go back into disarray, but your ability to focus on that gives you now the framework to be able to move through this more easily. So I'm going to pull up a couple of different ways in which our nervous system responds, right? Because when we experience noise, our nervous system is typically either responding with fight, flight, or freeze. So that one's a fight. Where's my fight? Oh no, did I delete my fight? I might not have my fight anymore. All right, that's okay. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, there it is. Is that up top? Hold on. It's not a PDF because of the program that I use. But that's okay. All right, we got one more to upload. Thank you for dealing with my technical difficulties. I appreciate you very much. Okay, so we'll start with flight because that's what I have. So when we are dealing with flight, we are in a space where we are essentially shrinking. We shrink our field, we shrink away from things. We are constantly just trying to keep the peace. And so that can look like this is essentially hermit mode, okay? This is completely removing everything from our field. And so, okay, let me address this too. Lauren just asked if I will send out an email afterwards. These pictures, the video will all be in that too. You can also access the video right away to rewatch through the link, but there's also a secondary piece that you'll get, which is basically if you are more of like a reading type person, it'll have all this information in it. And so you can read through it. It's a program that you can just sign up for. Like for free, right? You just log in and I'll have the slides in there too and parts of the videos too. So that will all be in there and also include some different things that I've talked about throughout the workshop so that you can access them. So when we're looking at coping with noise and we perpetually are in a state of flight. This is like hermit mode. This is awakening, right? When we think about, we talked about it earlier, this idea that when we become more energetically sensitive, we start to realize all of this stuff that's coming at us, and then we shrink and get like very detached from all of the things that we're experiencing. So pulling that in to ourself, we shrink into ourself and we stop engaging. Okay, we stop being present and we are working towards keeping our peace. What we are doing is we are buying ourselves time to be able to, in theory, create a safety, right? We want to create safety. So sometimes when we are in the state of flight, we have to, and we're trying to cope with the noise that we're experiencing, we're trying to remove everything that is noisy to then, the intention is to be able to reintroduce things. Again, you can do whatever you want. But this is for people who do not want to live in full isolation. They want to be present and in this experience. All right. So that's part of this. So we get to we have to remember that when we're in that state of flight and we're no longer talking to people, right? Cutting off your parents, cutting off everybody, no longer going to the places that you used to like to go because they're too loud and noisy and like you don't want to talk to people. Removing yourself from all types of, even like deciding like I'm not going to watch TV anymore. I'm not going to engage with this anymore. I'm not going to listen to this kind of music. That's like, in a sense, you're removing it. So you are in the state of, your response is flight. It's removal. Now, all of those decisions don't necessarily mean flight, right? Some of them can be a very conscious and concerted decision to remove something from your field. That is where this 360-degree perspective has to be looked at. Am I doing this out of fight, flight, freeze? Am I doing this because there is a part of me that is unhealed and completely triggered? Have I tried all options and I can no longer continue on this path? Like being able to see the situation. What do I need to heal from this? Is there something I'm missing? Looking at all of the angles is what is going to help you to find peace, right? And help you to determine, am I doing this as a protection mechanism, or am I doing this because it actually does not serve me to have this in in my field anymore? This is very important to consider with people, with jobs, with circumstances, because a lot of times when I'm working with people, when I'm doing readings, or if I'm helping someone like in a mentorship capacity and we're looking at this and we're seeing like, okay, like this is a pattern. Changing the scenario isn't going to necessarily change your response to the situation. You're going to flight again. You're going to go into this continual space again. So it's looking to figure out what do you need to shift internally in order to be able to hold it, right? Because a lot of times, if we're trying to manifest abundance, if we're trying to manifest love, if we're trying to like get a job that's wonderful, because we hate our job, uh, we are presented with something that is more aligned, right? That's because we're on the trajectory of elevation, but we get it and then we can't keep it because we haven't actually healed the underlying patterns. Being aware of that and being able to look at that from that 360, from that sovereign perspective, gives you then the chance to actually move through it. Super, super powerful. So this is what this is how I visualize flight, and I think it's really helpful to see when you are in a state, right? When you feel triggered and you're in a state, to be able to start to identify, okay, what's happening here? What am I experiencing? Does it feel like I've shrunk and like everything's outside of this? Um, we're going to learn how to engage with that then. So let me see the next one. Now we have fight. What does fight look like? Fight is when we actively choose to push everything out. This is different than flight, but it has the same energetic effect. Okay? When we are constantly, um, it's almost more intense. For flight, we're trying to keep our peace. For fight, we're actively fighting to get our peace. So we are pushing everything out of our field. We are pushing people away. We are aggressive at, being, I'm protecting my energy. I am fighting, like, essentially it's like an air of righteousness. Like, I'm doing the right thing and I'm going to fight and I'm going to push until everybody knows that I'm doing the right thing. Or you're aggressively sending out energetic protection, or you're being literally aggressive with people and allowing the emotions that come up within you to protect you through your behavior, right? And to keep people at a distance, to keep energy at a distance, to keep life at a distance, opportunities at a distance, because your nervous system and your energy field can't handle the noise of the things that uh, you're calling in. We'll loop this back to abundance again. This idea that, like, if you are in a space where you are manifesting partnership and abundant love and things like that, and you have not fully allowed some of these patterns to clear from your system, you might take somebody's light shining into your field, illuminating things that are challenges within you, as an affront, a personal affront, and that is shown, and then you fight, and then you get angry and you flip out, or you project and you send things out. Now, a lot of times, people who are in fight responses project big time. They project their energy, they project their frequency, they project their emotions, and this you probably feel this around people who are highly energetic, right? People who are not fully through their awakening process and who are highly energetic people, they project a lot. And it's one of the stages prior to, really, for some people, to awakening, like this concept of projection and moving through it. So these can affect, this is something also to think about when you're engaging with other people. Well, what state are they in? What does their field look like right now? Are they, are they trying to push everything out? Are they trying to contract in and like disappear, right? Well, I don't know. I'm not going to use the proverbial we, but like I have totally like contracted in completely and like completely chosen to disappear because that was easier than actually addressing the things. So, what is the state of the nervous system? How does it feel? So, if you guys have, like, if you've had an experience with fight mode, it is, bam, it looks like that red squiggly line. It feels like you're just like pushing out. You're fighting to survive, essentially. And it can create a lot of both of these things, all of them, can create a lot of misalignment because you're not coming from a centered space. You're coming from a sympathetic state, a reactive state, versus a space of being grounded and connected in. Now let's look at freeze. Freeze comes from you literally getting stuck in the state. Everything is so loud that you actually then choose to disassociate. You begin to separate out these different aspects and kind of not deal with them, right? So if you can see, the top one has the light shining. That's like spiritual bypassing. Like, oh, everything's fine. I'm fine. It's all good. No big deal, right? It was just light. There's nothing in my field. I have nothing in my field. Notice how the first one, the coherent field, had all of this stuff still in the field, but the light was still shining out. Someone who is actively choosing to remove and to not allow any distortions and has zero noise is essentially disassociated from the noise. It is not healthy. Like, think of MK Ultra. Think of people who are in a state of traumatic dissociation. They've been triggered to the point from whatever they've experienced that they completely take on a different personality, and they are someone different. Disassociation can also come up when you're in a work environment too, right? Like, talk about people with who are neurodivergent are very competent at masking. Masking is a form of disassociation, and it's a form of creating a persona that can actually navigate within that realm of noise. So the person in the second bubble is a master of those levels of frequency. So those are the only ones that they pretend exist within their field. And then the last little guy down there chooses to actively only engage with the energies that are in that field. So it's completely separate from the others. That creates chaos within the field. Okay? Ultimately, there's no coherence because you've separated into multiple personalities, multiple identities, multiple ways of coping and operating. Is it useful at times? Yes. It is useful as we are starting to learn to identify what is happening. And we're going to talk about the next, because the next slide is going to be kind of showing that the process of how we do this. So when we are going into, where did it go? When we're going into the state of coherence, we are essentially trying to get to a place where we can go from incoherence to not disassociation, but separating out, right? The idea of the disassociation, which is the different properties, have been pulled out. So that way we can then create a plan and then pull them all together. So this would be the process of going from our incoherent field to identifying each of the layers within that field, so that way we can then create the coherent meshing system that's going to allow us to create coherence, to create homeostasis, to create balance and harmony. A pretty picture, right, within our space, within our energy. So we do at times take a pause to inventory through technically the same mechanism as this, like, disassociation, right? Because we're pausing, we are stopping ourselves to see what's happening, but we're not actively allowing everything to continue to transpire in the same way as freeze would, right? Freeze is going to never take action. Pausing is buying you some time in order to evaluate what's happening, create plans for the individual actions, and then move forward. So let's talk about some symptoms that show up. And if you guys have any other symptoms that show up, as like drop them in the chat, because I feel like people have a lot of different ways in which these things show up. When we have a lot of noise in our field, we can experience anxiety. That's the first thing that creeps up in me is anxiety. I start to get like sweaty energy, emotional distress. Where maybe you were calm before, but compounding emotional distress. You're tired but wired. Your energy's always buzzing. You have the inability to focus. You're ungrounded, like completely up in outer space. Headaches, nausea, aches and pains in the body. These come from other electromagnetic fields interrupting your field, causing clearing within your system. Fear and insecurity. Most of the corporate programming that we experience, and most of our one of our biggest challenges as being spiritual beings having a physical experience is being balanced and grounded in this space, right? Being balanced and grounded in this reality so that we can create a foundation that can allow us to thrive. Most programming is made to keep us unstable because as soon as we become stable, we can't be fucked with anymore, right? Nothing can really, like, if somebody is really strong in their base, they can't be thrown off kilter, and that is frustrating to corporations and to the programs that have already been implemented. So the system is created to continue our perpetual feeling of being off kiltered. And so we get overstimulated and overwhelmed. Yeah, all of these things absolutely accumulate into overstimulation. So it can almost boil down to like being overwhelmed and overstimulated is like the pinnacle of like I had too much noise in my field because this is what I'm feeling. Thought loops, that's perfect. Thought loops are repetitive patterns, repetitive thinking, limerence, anything that is just on loop in your mind is going to absolutely indicate that there is an imbalance within the noise levels of your field. Some of these things, thought loops included, can actually be indications of something completely different, right? We have the loop of we have one loop that is coming up and presenting itself continuously, but there is an underlying cause that we are not willing to look at in that moment. So that's where having the 360 perspective of being like, okay, this thought is coming up. Is this mine? Is this actually about the energy that is presenting, or is this providing me call it an allegory or a distraction from actually healing something else, right? Because it can be both things. It could be just total distraction, but remember, all distractions are built upon the base layer of what it was distracting you from. So if I love just talking about myself with this stuff and like telling you like how normal I am with these things that come in. I'm just kidding. I don't really like to be that vulnerable, but I'm going to be again. The distraction that for a couple of years it was like I just want to date somebody and find a partner and blah 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 blah. What did that do? It distracted me from actually healing from the narcissistic abuse of my that I experienced during my marriage, right? So it wasn't until I stopped doing that that it allowed me to really realize all those times that I was just trying to seek something outside of myself because I didn't want to actually look at the pain and the hardship that I experienced. This can be applied to all things, right? If you are continually hobby hopping, right, and finding new avenues to focus your time and effort and energy, well, what is it that you're really procrastinating from, right? Like so the it doesn't it's a parallel, it's tangential at times too, like it's slightly off of what you were doing, but it's in the same loop. So Kim sent in an example. I was thinking last night about how in the US the food they sell is pretty bad for us and can make some of us really sick, and then they sell us supplements. Exactly, that's we're not looking at the core of the issue. It's so true. It's so true because they create the problem in order to give you the solution that you want to pay for then, and then you have to get the solution for the solution because you overdid this X, Y, and Z, and then your kidneys stop working. So we have a DaVita for that, and they can they can filter your kidneys and blood for the rest of your life. Like there's so many ways in which we are completely devoid of our own sovereignty, right? Through what we have access to. And this is really a challenging thing. And so as we go through this and start to learn to be able to remove some of these noise factors from our systems, we can decide, we can implement, we can change, and then we reintegrate. Part of this process is about reintegrating to become fully human and to be in, you know, we need enough people integrated into society to actually make changes. Okay? If we keep escaping into spiritual, like la la land, we cannot actually anchor and ground change into our communities, into the world, into government, into corporations. It cannot ground. If we are not there, nothing will change. So, this is where, like, my 5D rant for the day. This is it. New Earth is here, is right now. And we are being given the opportunity to actually make changes within the space that we live in order to show people what it is to truly live as an evolved being of light in physical form. That is New Earth. It is not some magical place that we go to and disassociate into and leave everything else from behind. That is a trauma response, right? That is flight, right? That is flight. Um, that's a process of flight because we cannot deal with the noise of the challenges of this life and this experience and this world that we're in. So we're going to think really hard and get us out of that and resonate at a different frequency that we don't have to deal with this. So it's we are here to make the change. We are here to like build the communities, to do the kind things, to raise other people up, to make people feel warm and love and connected and like I don't cry, Chrissy, but like that's it. That's the thing. So thank you for being here and not choosing to run. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you. We're not done, but like I had to do my I love you plug. This is like another sign that you have. So some of these levels of noise are extremely continuous. Some of them are rapid. Okay? Continuous noise would be something like Wi-Fi, Schumann resonance, and that can also be rapid change, right? Um, but family dynamics or things from your home, stuff like that, right? Those can all be more continual noise. They are filling up our bucket, right? When we think of there's an analogy with allergies about a bucket, and we become allergic to the things after our bucket is filled, and then we begin to overflow. Think of that as noise. There is a continual level of noise within your bucket as you put in Wi-Fi, you put in Bluetooth, you put in, I don't know, like TV, you put in the frequency of electricity, and your bucket's depending on how big your bucket is, your bucket may already be half full. There are children who have autism, right? That are their bucket after all of that, it's completely full and it's overflowing, and they can't handle anything else. So that is an environmental structure that then has to shift. You have to remove those things from their environment in order for them to be able to handle different, handle other things. People who are overstimulated very easily, their bucket might be full with these frequencies that are static and continuous. And so then any little change actually puts them into overflow. If we experience rapid changes in our demeanor, that is typically a sign that something is abruptly coming in with abrupt noise, that it is coming into our field aggressively, and you can call it intentionally. Sometimes it's not always intentionally, but it's coming into our field and it's creating chaos and putting us into a point where we cannot, our bucket overflows. As soon as our bucket overflows, that's when we get these symptoms begin to show. We don't always experience the symptoms until our bucket starts getting close to full or over full. And this is not to sound sadistic, but like sometimes we need our bucket to overflow so that we can actually reevaluate, right? There are some people who actually require, they don't require, we just drag our feet a little bit. Like I drag my feet a little bit on changes and stuff. I'm like, but it's like so cozy and comfortable pattern. I like this. I know what to expect. Yeah, but like until that bucket overflows, I'm not going to make a change and remove the stuff. So I've gotten much better at that, right? And recognizing, oh, my bucket's like we're getting to the top, Chrissy. Like you should probably adjust something before you go into burnout, right? Because ultimately what happens when all of that overflows, we have to contract back in, and if we're not preemptively making changes, if we're not preemptively working on creating better systems for ourselves to move through it, if we're not preemptively doing energy work to clear these things out, to ground ourselves in, we're at the whim of the noise that comes into our field, and we're just kind of flopping around and having that go, right? We don't want that. Um, yeah, the it's hard to have an overflowing bucket. And then when we put on top of it that we want to connect to spirit, right? Let's talk about that. You put on, you have all of these human things that are filling your bucket. And this is why we can go back to the disassociation image, right? We separate. Well, this is just nice over here. So I'm just going to go over here. I'm going to disassociate. I'm not going to care about all of these other human things. And I'm going to go up here. And I'm going to be just be in spirit land. And this is where we can experience a lot of challenges coming back and reintegrating from retreats, from energy work, from sessions that can be like really energetically intense or high, having these highs. We are not integrating these two lives together. We are disassociated. Like I lived for a while being a spiritual person online and then going to a 9 to 5. Well, technically not. I made it like I made my I manifested a job that was quite cozy. But they were separate. I was a different person in different places. And so it was like living two identities, and these things did not mix. And when spirit would try to come into my job, it would make it really really hard for me to be able to exist, right? Because you know, I don't know about you, but like if you've ever had as soon as you, not to be crass, but I'm gonna be crass. As soon as my butt hits the toilet, sometimes like something's in my face because it's like as soon as you like relax, like let your guard down to use the bathroom, it's biological, right? That's why dogs come in when we're going to the bathroom and they're like, "Are you okay?" Like, and they want to come in immediately because they're protecting us because we've let our guard down. So spirit pops in right away. So if you've ever been in like an office stall and like had someone's grandma like pop in, you're like, oh my God, please just leave me alone. So this like I had to use the disassociation methods to keep them separate, which was beneficial at the time. Is it great always? No, that's not that we want to be able to integrate all of these things together. So these are the ways in which we are learning how to identify what is happening in our system. Remember, if you guys have any questions, drop them in the chat. I'm trying to stay in it as much as possible. So when we're looking at this framework, we're looking at identifying the noise in our field. You have now been given the pattern and energetic framework, the understanding of all of the different things that could possibly be engaging with your field. This is not to overwhelm you. This is to be background programming that you're like, oh, I see that. Oh, I see that. It's not to make you go crazy. It's not to say, get rid of it all. I do not want you to get rid of it all. You need to have, you're human. You're here to experience this. This is part of it. But being aware gives us control back. Being aware allows us to start our journey of sovereignty, of being able to embody our energy and frequency and understand what is ours and what is not. If we are just operating on programming and energetics of noise, We are not fully allowing ourselves to be operating from the seat of empowerment. We are just being swung around by someone else's yanker thing. So, we don't need that. We need more people who are grounded and feeling confident and stable in their energy. Um, so as we go into the next steps, we're gonna assess the source and the impact through intuition. There's supposed to be an N on that, but that's okay. When we start to allow ourselves the space and opportunity to find peace, okay, in this, we start to be able to allow ourselves to come back into a state of stasis, a state of calm. Now, when we are looking to identify what has been happening, we are going to find where it is. We've looked at what's occurring and what's happening in our body from it. Now we want to really be able to identify what it is that's the source of this noise. So the ways in which we do that is through we take our pause, right? We take our sacred pause. You're feeling overstimulated. You're feeling like, why did I get nauseous all of a sudden? Let me pause. We want to scan our body. We want to scan our environment, and then we want to scan the spiritual field. All of these things can be sources. A lot of times we will find something within our body that is causing the distortion, but it is that, that is the symptom of the distortion, but it is not necessarily the cause of it. There tends to be something that's interacting with our field that is bringing it up. So right now we're going to do a little body scan. And we're going to work on finding a distortion what's within our field, one of these things, these energetics that are occurring within us to start to move through. So just take a minute, and you want to be looking for, it can look like static. And I'm telling you different things that it can present as so that you have an idea. You may already know what it looks like for you. It could be static, dark spots, like a feeling of chaos, like, ooh, my shoulder feels funky. Could be cords, barbs, something that just feels like strange in your system. That's going to be your point of chaos. Okay, that's going to be your noise, that the symptom of the noise. All right. So feel in your body right now. What are you experiencing? Do you have something in there that is causing this? Now that you have a symptom or something that's in your field, you have a handle of that energetic signature. I want you to go ahead and scan your environment. Now, the environment can be your physical home, it can be an imprint from past, present, or future, right? That can be creating noise within your field. Now, here's where the part comes in that can be kind of like, really, Chrissy, that's it. Some of these things are going to be easy to deal with, okay? But the fact that we have ignored them for so long makes it feel like, oh, well, that's just part of life. Well, no, not necessarily. So, as you're leaning into this, I want you to just take note of it. Can you find the origin point of the symptoms? I'll go for me personally. I have a little bit of buzzing in my body and a little bit of a knot in my stomach. And when I kind of lean out into what it is and in my environment, I feel there is a weight from a project that is sitting open right now that I wish I was further along on, but I'm not. So that is creating an inherent state of continual noise in my field, louder and louder and louder. Full transparency, I'm painting my daughter's room for her birthday, and she's currently on vacation with her dad. And I have not done as much as I should have, or as I wish I could have at this point. So that's where we're identifying where these stressors come from. The other day, I was in a field and I was all of a sudden like really nauseous, and I was going for a walk with my dogs, and I was in the woods and I was like, I gotta leave. This feels bad. This feels gross. Um, and I left, and I chalked it up to, oh, it's just the energy of those forests, because there was like a hunting post and everything, and that was part of it. Um, what is it called? A hunting blind? There was a hunting blind, and it felt heavy and weird. And the next day I went back and I saw there was a giant cell tower right smack in the towards where I was walking when I was in those woods. I'm like, oh, as I got closer, it was like repelling me more and more and more. So there are different things like, what is a symptom in your body? What are you experiencing and feeling? And then what in your environment could be causing it? Again, past, present, and future. It could be currently there. It could be something that is supposed to be there that's not there. These are all adding to the noise. And then if we're looking to add this into more of the spiritual lens of it, right? Because ultimately we want to have our own ability to connect with spirit. It is your sovereign right to be connected to spirit. So sometimes the noise can be so loud in our field that we can't get there. But if you are already there and connected, sometimes that noise can be even more loud than all of the other noise that we experience. So you can go ahead and scan that field as well. Scan the field of spirit. Who's in here? What are you doing? Why are you here? Right? That's the identifying thing. Now, understanding that people can also engage with our spiritual field, right? In the spiritual field with us. Astral travel and engagements. It can also be, I have had people who have literally like, all of a sudden I'll get like this wave of nausea and be like, ugh, or like a headache. And then I get a text message from somebody, and it's always the same person. And I'm like, oh God, like, because that, and so now I understand that feeling is my body signaling their energy entering into my field, which has then enabled me to start to develop a practice of transmutation. Any energy that is sent to me works for me and is part of the field to help attract and circulate more beautiful things to me. So when I am receiving, it's from my ex. When I'm receiving a text message and he's sending me his aggression towards me, right? Because I feel his feelings towards me. When I'm feeling that as an attack, right? I no longer feel it as an attack. I feel it as something that is just simply in my field. So I'm talking about these things so that you start to pay attention when you are in these spaces to understand. You're in spiritual, like, ladies and gentlemen, we are in a spiritual community space right now. You can also experience that with other people here too, right? With other people in places that you have gone to a yoga class or gone to meditation classes or this or that. Like, there are people who are always sending energy out, right? Or that they might think that they're um, a lot of people in like to send out love and light, right? But sometimes that can be extremely disruptive in your field if you're not giving consent to it, right? It can feel like aggression, an imposition. Some of these things can also feel if a person is sending things out because they are attempting to change your opinion, change you, manipulate your energy, it can also create a very big energetic impact on you. So, being aware of this is important, but I encourage you to not get hung up on it because when we get hung up on it, then we go down the path of spiritual psychosis. Okay, then we go down the path of like everybody's out to get me, and the universe is conspiring to knock me down, or not the universe or whoever it is, right? They're all trying to take me out. Most of it is not necessarily true, ex- like except if you're like, tied to the Freemasons and stuff, then it's probably true. Thank you. Thank you for the commentary. Um, yeah. So, would spirit potentially prevent us from connecting with them because we are already dealing with chaos and their energy would overwhelm us? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. My personal story on this is I went on, during my divorce, I went on an SSRI for sleep issues because if you know me, you know that I have nightmares. And in that, um, my body and my energy was able to calm down and I was able to finally like calm the chaos. The nightmares stopped. Everything started to like come back into balance more. I cleared a lot from my field and then it was just peaceful. And that's when I finally had connection, contact, we could call it, right? So, yes, if there is too much chaos in our field and we're experiencing things, it can absolutely block it because they're like contradictory signals. And if we're so used to the aggression in which our human energies come at us that we can sometimes miss the nuanced energies and frequencies of spirit. So is it blocking it, or is are they blocking us from it, or is it that we simply can't tune into it because this stuff is too loud over here? You can look at it kind of both ways because they're not going to raise their volume to yell at you so that you hear them over this unless it's like they're like, we'd like to put a clause on this unless it is a moment when we are trying to save you, right? Like just, just like a deep uh gobsmack of a contact experience, right? That's when they will kind of override all the noise in your field and stop it in order to be able to give you that aha awakening moment. But so a lot of times it's because the distortions and the chaos and the noise is too loud for us to be able to focus on the nuanced ways in which we're connecting to spirit because it's really honestly it's way more nuanced than we want it to be. That's from working with people, from seeing it myself, and the more connected we are sometimes the more grounded in our connection that we are, the less profound the experience when we're in spirit. It is just part of us. It's part of our day to day. It's just integrated into clear cognizance, and we just know. And it's less. There's less. It's less shiny. It's just part of us. It's just part of us, and that's beautiful. But it can be frustrating. So those are some examples of how noise, the field can show up in our body and how we can adjust things. Uh, Next, we're going to tap into this idea of what we do when we're trying to assess. How do we assess How do we assess movement forward? So we're looking immediately. We've kind of done that. We've done all of our scans. We've looked at all of it. And we're also going to be asking, is this mine? So go ahead and ask that, like, is this mine? We are working to determine if this is coming from something that is unhealed within you, that you are projecting out, that you are the ultimate origin point of, or if this is something that's interacting in your field. We are all becoming more telepathic too. I should point that out. I'm being encouraged to point that out. So we are not only experiencing other people's emotions empathically, we are also experiencing people's thoughts telepathically. Like they both work hand in hand, right? They're the same type of mechanism of projection and energy field engagement. And unless we're able to turn it on and off through our practice of filtering, it can get loud. So, is this mine? Is this mine thought? And if you are engaging with spirit, you can also be receiving spirit thoughts. If it is yours, or if it's not yours, you still want to go through this next step, which is to determine, is this something that is structural? Is the cause of this something that is happening in my life and experience? Mine currently is pretty structural. It has to do with my home, and it has to do with the time management, we'll call it. Is it energetic? That's what the receiving the text messages from the father of my children, right? The text message is energetic. The telepathic is energetic. And it's creating this connection that is evoking discomfort. Is it something that's emotional or spiritual? Then you want to see, can adjustments be made? So I want you to sit now with all of this and feel into that before you let your conscious mind solve the problem. We want to take an effort to ground in our higher self energy. So take a deep breath in and a slow exhale and feel your higher self energy kind of come through. Let it anchor down into your body. And let that energy be the lead assessor on the case. And then this is where we get to make our plan. What are we going to do to move forward? How are we going to adjust this noise? Now, you get to determine, can I do something about this or can I not? Now, if it's something that is work related, we also have to see, like, is me getting a new job just running away, or is that me actually seeking a better opportunity where my skills and the things, like, I've healed all my stuff, I see my flaws, and I've made X, Y, and Z steps to change things. Is me leaving my job, is that the type of adjustment that has to happen? Or is the adjustment more like, let me have a conversation with my boss? We want to make these progressive. And yes, radical change can be very powerful, but it can also be very ungrounding. And it can lead to burnout. And for people who are energetically sensitive, this type of energetic exchange can create a lot of whiplash that can actually be so destabilizing that it requires you more time in freeze mode than actually, like in that fight, flight, or freeze mode, than is actually going to be beneficial for you and for your benefit of creating a change in your life, right? And then finally, we're going to take action. So when we're looking at these problems, we get an idea of different ways in which we can move forward to clear this noise. We can clear the energy, the density, or the physical entity that is engaging in our field, causing chaos. Sometimes we have to do multiple things, right, for each individual aspect. We can adjust the volume at which this engages within our field. We have more control over spiritual energies, over projected energies than we do over physical structure, right? So my home is built on a mound of rocks and crystals and granite. Okay, quartz, giant pieces of quartz. I cannot change that. I can move, but my home is very energetically active because of the actual structure in which it is built upon. So if I can't change that, what I can do is I can remove the energies that are impeding peace. I can ask someone to help create barriers. Shout out to you, Riley. Uh, to create a space of peace in in the area, right? That can bring in calm. You can turn the Wi-Fi routers off. You can unplug things. You can change your light bulbs. You can have no lights on after, only sunlight. You can do all of these things. You can remove some of these points of noise. We are, in a sense, adjusting the volume of it then, but some of it we can't actually get fully rid of, like our cell phones. You can turn it off at night, or you can get a landline or like a Google line, right? That's an option. You can do these things, and you can make it so that your environment is more peaceful, so that way your bucket is less full, and then you can deal with other things. This is going to be something that is ever evolving and shifting. So I don't want you to think like, well, I did it once and I'm done now. You're not necessarily. It can be done, but some things may have to be revisited at times or reset, and that's okay, right? That's part of the process as your energy field changes, like being able to be resilient and allow the ebb and flow to happen is going to create more change for you more rapidly, so that way you can anchor in more. I want to use the word like beautiful abundance, love, peace, joy, right? Those things are also nice to have, but they happen very quickly, so they're very noisy. And if you can't handle that, right, we're trying to create the base and this foundational framework for you to be able to hold more. And you have to be able to get control over the noise level in your field in order to do that, so that you can slowly integrate more things in. We can also collapse these. That visualization that we did before about feeling the edges of those circles around us and the different frequencies that we're engaging within our field, and we energetically collapse that. Same thing goes with different versions of you, different timelines, different frequencies that are engaging within your field that do not align with you anymore. This is easy to do for social programming, for corporate programming, for conditioning, patterns. That is where collapsing is going to be the place where you are really working on those types of things. So anything that would be considered a pattern of behavior, you're going to want to collapse it. And then you can also shift. So when we're shifting the energy, we are taking an effort to transmute it into something else. So we are either releasing it from our field or our physical space. We are actively choosing to set intentions to transmute this energy into something different for us and to give ourselves space and time to find peace and balance within. When we go through the process of getting everything out of our field in our mind, right? And it's just you, and you see how it feels. Then you slowly start to be able to integrate other things back into your field, other noise into the space, and adjust. Then you start to get very comfortable with your own energy, the sensations within it, and how that can adjust your way of dealing, right? Your way of being present, your way of being anchored in. So when we move through these different steps of this process, we are finding our way back into integration, back into becoming more whole, becoming more sovereign, and becoming more resilient. When we get very adept at identifying noise presenting itself, now other people might call this discernment, right? This is absolutely energetic discernment. When we get better at this, we start to recognize that we don't want to be around certain people. And then we start to be able to, we go through the separation phase, and then we get to a phase where we start to reintegrate, right? Well, I can't not be around these people. So how do I then create a structural foundation, shift my energy, shift this reality, shift what I'm working with, adjust their volume, create filters, so that way I can be in these rooms. So that way I can, go to dinner in the city with my brother without having a meltdown for a week afterwards because it was just too loud and energetically I absorb too much, right? We're creating the barrier around us that's going to help us move through this. So I want you now to just take a moment to take action. Think about the action that needs to be taken. You're going to do both energetic work and work in the physical too, most likely. Most things require both. So take a moment, and you can, for adjusting the volume too, fun little trick, you can actually envision a dial on a car radio and just turn it down. Turn it down. Let the volume reduce, because it's there for, especially for things that are going to be there, especially for emotional things, other people's energies, spirits, whatever it is, you can actively turn it down. Vice versa, you can also turn it up so that you can hear better. So take a moment and intuitively lean into what you need to do with this energy right now. And if you have any questions, drop it in the chat, or if you want to share your experience, just drop it in there and we can work through it together. Now, you may also have a revelation that, like, oh, I need to do X, Y, and Z. And that will change everything. And that is very powerful. And I encourage you to take the steps that you feel drawn to after having evaluated it from a balanced perspective, right? We're not encouraged. There are some things that need rash behavior, right? There are some things that require immediate attention, but there are some that can be more gentle, right? And that can be stepped or staggered We're trying to not disturb your nervous system to the extent that you trigger fight, flight, or freeze, because that ultimately leads you to burnout of some type. We want you to be able to live, to experience. Now, in this, you're going to start to become more aware of what's happening around you. Being intuitive enough to understand that you still have to go to the grocery store, or you get them delivered, but like the idea of like going to Costco, I think Julie the other day talked about using Costco as an analogy, um, for like the overstimulation, and like when we get stuck in like our space, like there's so many people around there doing their own thing and nobody's thinking about anybody else. It's like really, we're really disconnected from the whole when we're in that space. But the idea is like if you have to go to Costco, you create the structure and framework where you can go to Costco. Maybe it requires you getting an executive membership so you can go at 9 a.m. before it opens. Maybe it requires you doing pickup orders. Maybe it requires you to do something else, but you start to be able to adjust then and fine tune these different experiences until you can start to flex the muscles and have the muscles that enable you to be able to hold these things more easily and feel comfortable and confident with it. The same thing goes with energetic exchanges, right? When we start new friendships, when we start partnerships, when we start relationships, you are engaging with somebody and their energy field, as well as everyone that they've ever engaged with too, and in terms of like and all the things that they hold and their family trauma and their experiences. And so as that comes into your field, you might have to be slow with it, right? Because if you're thinking of making huge transitions, if you're thinking of moving your home, if you're like introducing kids, if you're having someone else, you're in a beautiful relationship and you have someone who starts to like who moves in with you, and then all of a sudden like things are harder than when they were just visiting all the time. It's because there's a level of noise that comes from it that you're not necessarily fully aware of before you enter into that contractual agreement with them. So, being able to start to look at these different nuanced energies to address them, and again, from the 360, because what is your contributing factor in this, right? You are part of this creation, you are part of it, and part of the aspects of having to of being presented with these opportunities is having the opportunity to then reflect upon what's happening within yourself, within the traumas and triggers that are coming up in you, the karmic energies, the past life energies, the different dynamics. They're all flowing in your system. And then pulling your energy back into coherence. So, doing that exercise after we decide to take action, we can start to calm that field, let that field come back into balance. And now, the interesting thing is, when we looked at those pictures right at the beginning, I'll pull them up again, of the coherent field, there is a very solid barrier that is created as a filtering system that is created when we actively work on allowing these energies to be part of our system and actively being transmutative within it, right? They're engaging with our field and we're using that to create a more robust field for ourselves. We're making it work for us rather than making it attack us and shrink. So the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to tap into this. We're going to take it to the next step and set up a transmutation filter that's going to give you more of a framework to hold this type of shape. And I want you to remember this shape, right? This idea of like the field flowing around you, and your toroidal field is sovereign, right? These other things are you're using them as part of your filtering system, but you are sovereign. You are in the center, and nothing is engaging or interacting with it and interfering with it. Yes, technicalities are everything is flowing through it, but the way for this visualization, it helps you to create this filtering system on the outside of your auric field, and then it allows your light to penetrate through. It allows what needs to come through to come in and connect at your will, as you are choosing to. So let's just come back into our body once more. And remember, as we're doing this, if there are any other points of noise or distortions that are coming up, you can clear them. You can clear them energetically. And as you clear them energetically, you'll likely come to a revelation of how to clear them in the physical as well. If there are any symptoms in the physical or any representations of the noise in the physical, you will have a better plan on how to move it out of the field. So as you're breathing in and out, nice and slow, we are clearing all energies, entities, thought forms and patterns, any noise and distortion that is interacting with our field and impeding our sovereign energy. Allow the energy of your auric field to begin to expand. As it gets brighter and stronger, you feel it begin to engage on the outside, on the fringe of it, with the other energies in your current environment, past, present, and future. Anything that you experience or engage with. And this energetic barrier, it is a filter. It doesn't completely remove things from engaging in your field, but it does act as a method of transmutation. So with each breath in and breath out, feel any of the energetics that are engaging in this barrier. Begin to shift. You're currently receiving energetic work from the frequencies of your higher self and your energetics that you work with to help to bolster this process of transmutation. Any energy that is sent to you, any noise that interferes with your field, is immediately transmuted and used to create a more sovereign, peaceful, beautiful experience for you. Any energetics that are intentionally sent to you to create noise, distraction, or manipulation of your field are immediately transmuted into sources of energy that work for your benefit. Any energy that comes through this barrier, any noise that engages or interacts, if it is necessary for you to become aware of it so that you can make adjustments in your physical environment, in your spiritual practices, in your energetic hygiene, you will be made aware of it. But only what is necessary to know, to be dealt with, to be cleared, adjusted, and released. This barrier is here to act as a filtering system for you based on your conditions, your desires, and your alignment. Allow that to be your truth. And so it is. Now take a moment to just breathe in deeply, and as you exhale, exhale hard, out, long, low, down into your feet. Feel your energy begin to ground back into your body, into the earth. You are anchored into this reality, into this physical form, given the framework and subconscious program to be able to move through the noise within your field, within your experience, and release whatever is not needed. The more you go through this meditation process and this practice, the more the energetics will run on autopilot for you. A program in the background, constantly adjusting, so that you don't have to consciously focus. You'll be presented with exactly what you need based on this understanding. So feel your body come back. Start to move your arms, your shoulders, your legs. Shift. And as you're in that state, I want you to just tap into the feeling of your energy field. Tap into the feeling of that space around you. With this energetic barrier, do you feel more grounded? Do you feel more connected to yourself? Is it more clear of what your energy feels like? And now let your body settle down again, once more. Squeeze your toes, roll your ankles, shrug your shoulders, shake it out a little bit. I don't know about you. I was in the channel, so it's a little different, but I feel less, I feel more grounded after that, actually. A lot of times these energies can create very much an ungrounded sense in the body due to the frequencies, but that practice and that visualization really enabled me to get grounded into my own energy, which is very cool. Oh, you feel, yeah, that's great that you feel calm. I'm glad that's, how is everybody feeling? Is everybody doing okay? Wait, how do I get this? There I am. Hi. How are you guys doing over there? Oh, thank you. I'm so glad. I'm so glad you like that. So, one thing that they're encouraging you to do is to do that type of connection. You can listen to the meditation, you can do it on your own. Those are visualizations and cues that you can use to create your own field, right? To center in. That took what? I think it was less than 10 minutes of that, right? It's when you're feeling, use that as a tool when you're feeling overstimulated to get you to be able to come back into your body to feel safe again. You will have to take action. That's it. You will have to take action on things. There are things that will come up that'll be like, you have to deal with this. If you want peace, if you want this to be able to be continued, you have to do something. Don't mistake the feeling of calm that you're experiencing right now as the answer to everything. Oh, I'll just meditate all the time. We have to take action too. We have to do the stuff that's going to give us the ability to be able to continue to hold this. Because if we just choose to actively continue to hold this, we're in the state of disassociation, right? And not continue to hold this rather than dealing with things. That's disassociation. That's that first one. That's just the sunshine. It's like, this is all I'm going to deal with. That's if we just actively choose to only do the energetic work. It's energetic and physical work. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience. We are light codes in a vessel. And so we have to address both sides of it. So, oh, like warm sunshine. I like that. Noticeably lighter and feelings of joy is super powerful. Cool. Thank you. The guys, this is something that has once this became aware to me a few months ago, I started working on these practices and I started doing these exercises and becoming more aware of the noise and how it interacted in my field. And it changed me. It changed my ability to show up and to uh, learn how to siphon and sift through it. Sometimes we have to contract into hermit mode in order to remove all of the things, to get really familiar with what our energy is, so that we can then slowly start to bring things back in and build back up to spiral into alignment of our soul's purpose, of our, you know, our soul's purpose can be something simple too, like being a mom, right? Like, or being just a friendly person. We underestimate the power of some of these things, right? The power of something so simple because we're constantly striving for 3D status. And we don't necessarily need that. It's like, are you satisfied? Then beautiful. So using these strategies in order to determine, like you might feel like you're contracting a little bit after this, right? Contracting and kind of getting control of over what's happening here. So that way you can then start to build out more. It's really, really powerful. I am super excited for you guys to continue with this. A couple of plugs for myself. 8-8. I'm channeling Syrian energy. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be I can't remember all of the beings that were like, we wanna talk, we wanna talk, we wanna talk. There's definitely some Syrians. The Anunnaki of Petra. They came in. I had never even heard of Petra before. It was like I was living under a rock cliff or something. Um, but I was like, wow, that's intense. So the Anunnaki of Petra, there's also going to be Orion energies coming in from the Council of Al-Nalam. I don't typically do these anymore, but it just for what it doesn't resonate with me as much anymore to do as much galactic energies. That's just my evolution of self, I guess you could call it. And so when this came in, I was like, all right, sure, cool, it sounds fun. So it should be a really cool experience. That's on 8-8. Again, that's another donation thing. There's on I think it's the 28th of August, 27th, Thursday, the 27th of August. It is a clearing the cosmic wound, the wound of the cosmic father. And yes, everything will be recorded, so you can get access to that. Like, and again, these are all pay what you can. There's suggested donations, but like you can pay $1, you can pay 1,000, whatever you want, right? This is just trying to get stuff out there and help as many people get to it as possible. the wound of the cosmic father. So the reason this came up, this is an eclipse portal. It's very intense. It's gonna be intense. I do not suggest this if you are not ready to really actually move through this shit, right? The cosmic father, when we think about it, we like so many people call themselves star seeds. Do you know what that comes with? The sun is the star is the father. And you left that. And now you're here on earth and you're disconnected from the star, the father. So, it's going to be a whammy, right? It's going to be a whammy of an event. Um, Excuse me. But it should be really powerful. Excuse me. Clearly, I have some father stuff that I gotta clear out too still, as I'm like, yeah, so, oh my God, can you stop, please? Like, what the fuck? And then, on the equinox, this one I'm really excited for. This is a weekend event. It's online, but it's healing the energy, a weekend event that's going to show you different techniques, modalities, and ways in which you can work within your energy field or others to help you really learn to move through things, clear the body. There are people who are looking to start their own healing practices, right? Sometimes we need to hear and experience the technical aspects of what is happening and occurring in order to be able to feel more confident in what we're doing when we're starting to create our own modalities for healing. So this is basic energetic framework of energy healing, and we will get technical on some things. We will get expansive on different things, but it's going to cover a wide range of aspects of understanding the light body system, what's happening dimensionally, what's happening within our fields, how engaging in our fields can happen. We'll dive into aspects of like dark entities and attachments and stuff like that, how we clear them, how we move through them, how we talk about it even, right? A lot of this is about how can we talk about this stuff from a place of empowerment rather than from a place of like, you've got a demon attached to you. Like nobody needs to hear that. Nobody wants that. So that's on the equinox again. It's going to be a really cool weekend, and it's all pay what you can. And we're back to that format, and then we've got some cool things coming up for in-person stuff too. So keep it like there are things coming, and keep an eye out for emails. And I'm really grateful for all of you. Thank you. Oh, and yeah, is that it? That's it. Drink some water, take a salt bath, go hug a tree, put your feet in the grass, eat a potato or three. No, not three, two. They're like, don't make them go crazy, Chrissy. Eat some potatoes, ground, root vegetables, great for grounding. Uh, the color black and red, great for grounding. Okay, they demonize the color red because it actually is for helping you to anchor into this physical reality. Is part of the structure of our form is the color of red. Um, Lauren, I'll make sure that you're on it. I'll add you. Send me on Instagram. Send me a message, okay? Text me your email. Actually, I think I have it. Um, I'll get it to you. Don't worry. Okay. So that's it, my friends. I am. Yeah, we're black daily. Me too. I'm like, it's so black. It's good. What else? Salt bath. Take a salt bath. Hug a tree. We already said that. Yeah, drink water. You got this. Don't worry. I love you guys. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'll see you next time. See you.